Airports are strange places. They're crossroads where every kind of person collides. Business executives glued to laptops, families juggling strollers, honeymooners bubbling with excitement, and then people like her. On this particular morning, Gate 32 was alive with the usual chaos. The crackling overhead speaker announced pre-boarding for first class. Passengers shuffled forward, passports in hand, eyes heavy with travel fatigue. Some tapped away on phones, others sipped lukewarm coffee. Nothing out of the ordinary. Until she appeared. Rolling a leopard-print suitcase and clutching a clipboard like it was a weapon, she marched toward the seating area with the unmistakable strut of someone who owned the place. People parted instinctively, as if sensing the storm brewing around her. Her expression was sharp, her jaw set. You know the type. HOA Karen had just entered the scene. She scanned the waiting area with laser precision, eyes darting over the rows of weary travelers until she spotted him. A man sitting quietly in the corner, uniform pressed to perfection, shoes polished to a shine. His boarding pass hung from his hand, and the bold letters gleamed across it. First class. Karen's lips curled. Her clipboard snapped against her palm like a gavel. She didn't hesitate, not for a second. She stormed right up to him, suitcase wheels squealing against the tile, and stopped inches away. Her voice, sharp enough to cut glass, sliced through the hum of the terminal. Karen. Excuse me, sir, but I think there's been a mistake. The man looked up slowly, calm, polite. His face carried the kind of composure that only comes from years of responsibility. His uniform made it clear who he was, a pilot. But Karen? She only saw what she wanted to see. Karen. First class is for paying customers, not for employees catching a free ride. Passengers around them froze. A businessman half a row away lowered his newspaper. A young couple exchanged curious glances. Someone's phone angled upward, recording. The pilot smiled faintly. Patient. Pilot. Ma'am, this is my assigned seat. You'll need to board when your group is called. His voice was calm, steady, the kind of voice you'd trust at 35,000 feet. But to Karen, it was gasoline on the fire. She scoffed, shaking her head dramatically. Karen. No, you don't understand. I'm Group 3. That's practically the same thing. I paid for my ticket. Why should you get to sit there just because you're staff? She spat the word like it was an insult. Staff. As if the person responsible for flying a massive jet across the skies was no better than a busboy stealing table scraps. The man stayed seated, still calm. But Karen wasn't about to stop. She leaned forward, voice rising, making sure everyone within 10 rows could hear. Karen, you're not special. You don't deserve perks. First class is for people like me. People who worked for it. The irony hung in the air like smoke. People shifted uncomfortably, some covering smirks with their hands. And then, it happened. Karen's hand shot out. She snatched the boarding pass from the pilot's fingers, holding it high like she'd just caught a criminal in the act. Her clipboard wobbled dangerously in her other hand as she turned toward the gate desk. Karen, yelling, "Gate agent, this man is abusing the system. Look at this. He's trying to steal a first-class seat." A ripple of shock swept across the room. Mothers hushed their children. Businessmen raised eyebrows, and phones were lifted higher to catch every second of the drama. The pilot still didn't flinch. His calm eyes followed her, unbothered, almost as if he'd seen this movie before. The gate agent, juggling passports and a long line of impatient travelers, froze mid-motion. She blinked in disbelief at the sight of Karen waving the pass in the air like a flag. Passengers whispered, "Is she serious? That's the pilot? No way this is happening." But Karen, lost in her delusion, pushed forward, voice dripping with arrogance. Karen, put him in the back where he belongs. I paid for my comfort. He didn't. Her words rang out like a gavel of entitlement, echoing across the boarding area. And at that moment, everything hung in the balance. Would the gate agent bend under her shrill demands? Would the pilot finally snap and put her in her place? Or would the crowd see the truth, that this wasn't just a passenger dispute? It was about to become the most humiliating lesson of Karen's life. And that's when the real showdown began. The gate agent set down her scanner, eyes narrowing. The pilot rose from his chair, slow and steady, his captain's stripes glinting under the fluorescent lights. And Karen? For the first time, she looked unsure. Because she was about to learn that the seat she tried to steal didn't belong to just any passenger. It belonged to the one man no plane could leave the ground without. But before the gate agent said a word, before the truth was revealed, I want to ask you, what would you do if someone tried to steal a pilot's seat? Would you stay quiet, or would you call them out right there at the gate? Comment below, because what happens next will leave you cheering. The boarding area had shifted. No longer just tired travelers waiting for their flight. Now, it was an audience. Every eye locked on the unfolding spectacle. Phones tilted discreetly, or not so discreetly. Karen, still clutching the pilot's boarding pass, stood like a prosecutor about to deliver the closing argument in a trial. The gate agent, mid-swipe of another passenger's passport, froze. Her head snapped up, eyebrows raised as she processed the absurdity. She held out her hand. Gate agent. Ma'am, I'll need you to give that back. But Karen only tightened her grip, chin raised, voice dripping with righteous fury. Karen. No. You don't understand. He's trying to take a first-class seat he didn't earn. I paid for comfort, I paid for peace, and I will not sit behind an employee abusing the system. The crowd gasped, some muffling laughter, others shaking heads in disbelief. A young man near the window whispered, "That's the pilot," loud enough for half the row to hear. The pilot stood now, slow, deliberate. He wasn't angry, he wasn't flustered. He just rose like the tide, towering over Karen. His captain's stripes glimmered under the fluorescent lights, though Karen's eyes were too clouded with entitlement to notice. He reached out one steady hand. Pilot. Ma'am, that's my pass. Please return it. Karen scoffed, taking a step back. Karen, don't you raise your voice at me. I know my rights. If you can't afford first class, you don't deserve it. You belong in coach. The gate agent inhaled sharply. Her patience was unraveling. She grabbed her radio, whispering fast into the mouthpiece, eyes never leaving the scene. Passengers leaned in, tension thick as storm clouds. The atmosphere was electric, like the final seconds before lightning strikes. And then, the gate agent set down her scanner. She lifted the handheld microphone connected to the boarding desk. The crowd hushed, phones steadied. Even Karen faltered slightly, sensing the shift. Narrator, building suspense. Everyone braced for it. Everyone knew. This was the moment. What would the gate agent say? Would she scold the Karen? Call security? Cancel the flight? The air felt like it was holding its breath. And then, her voice rang out. The gate agent raised the microphone to her lips. Her voice echoed clear and sharp across Gate 32. Gate agent, announcing, "Ladies and gentlemen, please allow crew members to pre-board first. Escort the pilot." The word landed like thunder. Pilot. The crowd erupted. Laughter, claps, a few cheers. Phones captured every angle. Passengers leaned into aisles for a better view, recording the Karen who had just tried to demote the captain of their flight to economy seating. Karen froze. Her mouth opened, then snapped shut. She blinked rapidly, color draining from her face before flooding back as a deep, furious red. The pilot, calm as ever, gently took back his boarding pass. He leaned in just close enough for her, and everyone within earshot, to hear. pilot. "Ma'am, if I sit in the back, who's gonna fly the plane?" The words hit harder than any insult. The crowd howled. Someone nearly spilled their coffee laughing. A teenager shouted, "Got her!" Karen's confidence shattered. She stammered, clutching her leopard-print suitcase like a life raft. Karen, weakly, "Well, I'll be filing a complaint." But her words drowned under the applause. She retreated to the back of the line, cheeks blazing, lips pursed tight, her clipboard clutched uselessly to her chest. The gate agent shook her head, scanning the next passenger's ticket. The pilot handed over his pass, boarded gracefully, and disappeared into the jet bridge, where the real work awaited. And Karen? She shuffled into Group 3 exactly where she belonged. No red carpet, no special treatment. Just the long, humbling walk past rows of passengers who had just watched her crash harder than any plane ever could. She thought she could upgrade herself by downgrading the man in uniform. Instead, she learned the sky has rules even Karens can't bend. At 35,000 feet, no HOA clipboard, no "I know my rights." No tantrum can outrank the stripes on a captain's shoulder. Because in the end, the only seat Karen truly earned was in the Hall of Shame. So what do you think? Should Karen be permanently grounded from first class? Or maybe banned from flying altogether? Drop your verdict in the comments, and don't forget, karma doesn't need a boarding pass. It always gets a front row seat.